Hi everyone, this is Aditya. Welcome to Performance Testing tutorial. This video is designed in such a way that it will talk about the non-functional software and testing environment which is performed for any given software web application. All the elements which are talking about performance testing will be available in this tutorial. So without any delay, we'll get into the agenda which is covered for this particular video. The topics that we are interested to cover in this video is the first one talks about what is a performance testing, and second one is why performance testing is being chosen even though we have multiple other software testings available in the market. Second one is the different types of performance testing. Fourth one is the common issues that we usually see when it is getting into the live environment. For example, you might see an application which is not loading as per expected behavior. So all these issues will be talking to you in the fourth slide. And the fifth topic that we are going to discuss is the process in which this performance testing is performed. So for every given software testing framework, we do have a process, and it is designed in such a way that it will follow a step-by-step procedure to have the result which is as per the requirements which are outlined in the document. So the next one is talking about the metrics and test cases. For any given testing methodology, we do have certain type of metrics which has to be performed, and we'll talk about that particular metrics in this tutorial. And we'll also talk about few test cases which will make you understand why and how are we going to write a test case, so that we are getting into a tool and will make understand the tool is behaving as per the right structure or not. So the last topic that we are going to discuss is the number of tools which are available in order to perform performance testing. And out of this cohort of tools, we'll talk about one such trending tool which is dedicated for performance testing is JMeter. So we'll not only talk about what is the definition and how it is developed, but we'll also get a chance to see how it is being installed in your local machines. And I'll also help you understand how can we test a real-time website in this JMeter UI. So all these topics are covered in such a way that it will help you understand or probably connect the dots in terms of a performance testing. Without any delay, we'll get started with the first topic called as what is performance testing. So what is performance testing? For any given software web application, speed, responsiveness, and stability of a computer are one of the prerequisites before it is getting into live environment. Without achieving all these elements, it is very hard for any given web application to be released into the market. In order to achieve all the requirements, that's when we'll go with the performance testing. This will help you understand the roadblocks that we generally see in a software web application, and we'll try to retune or fine tune the entire application, and we can make it available to the wider audience. So before it is getting into the live environment, all the key elements that we talked about speed, responsiveness are much more important, without which a software web application cannot be released into the market. So this is about the performance testing. So why performance testing? Performance testing is one of the leading components whenever if there is a software web application getting into the live environment. Why we do use performance testing? The reasons are, before it is getting into the wider audience, it is our responsibility to check if it is working as the correct requirements or not. Let's say, for example, we are getting into a browser and type Amazon. So the moment you get into Amazon website and if you type mobiles, it will help you land in that particular page within seconds. But if you just type Amazon and if it is not giving you the appropriate results, it is of course would be a very bad experience to the end customer, and this would lead to a trivial situations. So being a developer, being in a software company where you are trying to develop any such products, it is a primary responsibility to check if it is working as intended or not. So before it is getting into the wider audience, we have to test using the performance testing tools and test out the results and see if it is working as the expected results or not. So this is why we are talking about why do we need performance testing in the performance testing methodology. Now we talk about the types of performance testing. So the first one that we'll talk about is the load testing. It will check the application's ability to perform under anticipated user loads. The objective to identify performance bottlenecks before the software application goes live. So this is about load testing. Next one is this stress testing. It involves testing an application under extreme workloads to see how it handles high traffic or data processing. The objective is to identify the breaking point of an application. The third one is endurance testing. It's done to make sure the software can handle the expected load over a long period of time. Next one is spike testing. It will basically test the software's reaction to sudden large spike in load generated by users. Next one is volume testing. Under volume testing, large number of data is populated in a database and the overall software system behavior is monitored. The objective is to check software's application performance under varying database volumes. Last one is scalability. The objective of scalability testing is to determine the software's application effectiveness in scaling up to support increase in user load. It helps plan capacity addition to your software system. So these are all the different type of performance testing types that we have in this methodology. Now we'll talk about the common performance problems. Most performance problems revolve around speed, response time, load time, and poor scalability. Speed is often one of the most important attributes of an application. A slow running application will lose potential users. Performance testing is done to make sure an app runs fast enough to keep a user's attention and interest. So these are one of the examples that I would like to show you so that we can connect in terms of performance problems. The first one is long loading time. Load time is normally the initial time it takes an application to start. This should generally be kept to a minimum. While some applications are impossible to make load in under a minute, load time should be kept under a few seconds if possible. So the second common problem that we generally see is poor response time. So it is a time it takes from when a user inputs data into the application until the application outputs a response to that input. Generally, this should be very quick. Again, if a user has to wait too long, they lose obviously the interest would be much minimal. The third one I would like to talk about is poor scalability. So a software product suffers from poor scalability when it cannot handle the expected number of users or when it does not accommodate a wide enough range of users. So load testing should be done to be certain the application can handle and the anticipated number of users or not. So this is something that we usually come across when we talk about performance testing, and I think these are the three top most common performance issues that we have in performance testing. Now we'll talk about the performance testing process. The methodology adopted for performance testing can vary widely, but the objective for performance test remains the same. It can help demonstrate that your software system meets certain predefined performance criteria, or it can help compare the performance of two software systems. It can also help identify parts of your software system which degrades its performance. So, below is a generic process on how to perform performance testing. So, we'll talk about the first one, which is identify the test environment. Know your physical test environment, production environment, and what testing tools are available. Understand details of the hardware, software, and network configuration used during testing before you begin the testing process. It will help testers create more efficient tests. It will also help identify possible challenges that testers may encounter during the performance of testing procedures. The next one is determine the performance. So this includes goals and constraints for throughput, response times, and resource allocation. It is also necessary to identify project success criteria outside of these goals and constraints. Testers should be empowered to set performance criteria and goals because often the project specifications will not include a wide enough variety of performance benchmarks. Sometimes there might be a situation where all of these are none at all. So when possible, finding a similar application to compare to is a good way to set performance goals. So the third one is planning and design. So determine how usage is likely to vary amongst the end users and identify key scenarios to test for all possible use cases. So it is necessary to simulate a variety of end users and plan performance test data and outline what metrics will be gathered. So this is which should be performed under plan and design. So next comes it configure the test environment. So what we generally do is prepare the testing environment before execution. Also arrange tools and other resources. Fifth one is implement test design. So in order to create a test design, you need to make sure that all the performance tests according to your test design are available. So the next one is obviously you should run all these tests. And the last one is you should analyze what kind of outcome that you're trying to make it from all these process. So then fine tune and test again to see if there is an improvement or decrease in performance. So since improvements generally grow smaller with each retest, stop when bottlenecking is caused by the CPU. Then obviously you may have to consider the option of increasing the CPU power. So this is about the process which is entitled to help you understand what kind of methodology is adopted for performance testing. So now we'll talk about the performance testing metrics. And for that matter, it is simply known as the parameters that are being monitored. So you might have seen there are so many metrics that we talk about when it comes to performance analysis. But out of all these metrics, I would like to talk about only the key elements that we generally monitor in terms of a software application. So the first one that I would like to talk about is the CPU usage. Like for every one, CPU usage is also one of the primary constraints that we usually see in a software application. So what I can say is it is the average number of hardware interrupts a processor is receiving the processing each second. So basically when you input like when you have large sets of data and if you're trying to contact the CPU, so it might be a stage where it can not allow you to use the correct expected results. So you have to always test if the CPU usage is minimal or as per the industry standards or not. So the next one that I would like to talk about is the database load. So for every process, we do always interact with the kind of memory that it would take for a page to get in terms of the contact with the database. For example, if you're trying to use database locks like locking of tables and database, it should be monitored and it should be carefully tuned. So for all these instances, you should always think about checking the database. Let's say for example, if you have 100 users and these 100 users are connecting to the database at a single request, then you need to see the health of that particular database and see if it is working as intended or not. So the last one that I would like to talk about is the security feature. For every web application, it is a paramount importance that we should give for security. So for without security, I think that will be a basic challenge in terms of how it is taking it to the next level. So in order to talk about that particular aspect here, I think security is also one among the primary factors that we need to see. So if any user feels that it is not safe to get into the application, I think that would be very bad experience and your entire web application will be going for a toss. So you need to make sure that security also matters a lot in terms of a performance testing. So there are also a couple of other what I can say is the performance testing metrics are available. So, for example, we can talk about the memory pages where it talks about the number of pages written to or read from the disk in order to resolve that hard page faults. And also, I think disk queue length is also one among them where it is the average number of read and write requests queued for the selected disk during a sample interval. So all these are these performance metrics which are calculated while using performance testing methodology. So now we'll talk about the performance test use cases. So the first one that I would like to tell you, or probably the example test use case that I've seen, is to verify the response time. It should not be more than 4 seconds when 1,000 users access the website simultaneously. So this is one of these use case, and the second one is verify the response time of an application under load, which should be within an acceptable range when the network connectivity is slow. The third one that I would like to talk about is check the maximum number of users that the application can handle before it crashes. Fourth one is, I think we should check the CPU and memory usage of the application and the database server under peak loads. So I think if you remember it properly, I think this point I've taken up in the performance testing types, where you got a situation to test if the testing is under spike environment or not. So what happens during spike is, so whenever you have large amount of data coming into a single server, it will basically a reality check for the memory usage and also for the database to function accordingly. So let's say if we are trying to interact 1,000 users at a single point of time, then database and also the memory usage should be able to serve all these 1,000 users and throw the result in the real time. So this is one of the use cases. So the last one that I would like to talk about is the verify the response time or the application time under the normal, moderate, and heavy loads. So for example, you might have seen there are different offers which have been available in all the websites, right? For example, if you get into Amazon and if you see there are any season, then obviously the bandwidth would be a question. So that is the situation where you would like to test and see if the web publication is working along with the numbers or not. So basically, during the actual performance test execution, vague terms like acceptable range, heavy load are replaced by concrete numbers. So performance engineers set these numbers as per business requirements and the technical landscape of the application. So these are the minimal test cases that I would like to project to you, so that you'll get a way to understand how can we test a web application in the real time. So now we'll talk about the different performance testing tools available in the market. So these are the wide variety of performance testing tools which is available to the wider audience. The tool you choose for testing will depend on many factors such as types of protocol supported, license cost, hardware requirements, platform support, etc. So below is the list of the testing tools which are available, and there are also a number of tools are available, but I think this is some of the major tools which have been taken care by all the companies. So the first one is the HP load runner. So it is the most popular performance testing tools on the market today. This tool is capable of simulating hundreds of thousands of users, putting applications under real life loads to determine their behavior under expected loads. So Load Runner features a virtual user generator which simulates the action of live human users. So that is about LoadView and Load Runner. So talking about the NeoLoad, NeoLoad is basically it is used to check the performance testing platform, and it is designed for DevOps environment. So which that seamlessly integrates into your existing continuous delivery. And with NeoLoad, teams test 10% faster than with traditional tools to meet the new level of requirements across the full agile software development lifecycle. So this is one of the component to fully system wide load test. So the last one which I would like to talk about, and the demo that we are scheduled for this particular tutorial, is JMeter. So the Apache JMeter is widely used, and it is one of the leading tools which are calculated for performance testing tools. So we'll also talk about the JMeter in the further slides, but I would just like to give you a bit of glance and number of testing tools that we have in the current industry. So now we'll talk about one of the leading performance testing tools which are followed by the leading companies, and that is JMeter. So not only talking about the definition, we'll also get into the demo version of the JMeter. So to talk about the definition of JMeter, Apache JMeter is a pure Java open source software which was first developed by Stefano of the Apache Software Foundation. So it was designed to test and also to load test the functional behavior and to measure performance. So you can use JMeter to analyze and measure the performance of web application or a variety of services. So performance testing means testing a web application against a heavy load, multiple and concurrent user traffic. So JMeter originally is used for testing web application or FTP application. Nowadays it is also used for a functional test, database server and etc. So what is JMeter? Why it is used as a popular testing performance tool? It is because, for example, have you ever tested a web server to know how efficiently it works? Or even how many concurrent users can a web server handle? Let's say that one day your boss asks you to do performance testing of google.com for 100 users. What should you do? Obviously, it's not feasible to arrange 100 people with PC and internet access simultaneously and accessing the google.com. Think of the infrastructure requirement when you test for 10,000 users, a small number for a site like Google. Hence, you need a software tool like JMeter that will simulate real use behaviors and performance load test your site. So this is why it is primary advantage for all the users to go with JMeter for the features that it is providing for all the developers. I can also talk about few of the advantages that JMeter provides the all developers is it's an open source size license. It's a friendly GUI. It's not like it's extremely easy to use and doesn't obviously take time to get familiar with it. So it's a platform independent like JMeter is 100% pure Java desktop application. So it can run on multiple platforms. Next one is easy installation. You can just copy and run .bat file to run JMeter. So no installation required. Highly extensible. So you can write your own test. JMeter also support visualization plugins, allow you to extend your testing. So this is something key advantages that I would like to project to you so that you can know about the different JMeter advantages that we have in the industry. So to talk about how it works, what is the backend principle where these tests are generated and connecting it to the server, and how many versions that we have, how can we install in our local machines? It is something that I'm trying to create in another video, and I'll help you understand the detailed aspects of JMeter and its performance. So not only about talking its performance, we'll also talk about the different features that is available inside the JMeter UI. For example, I can also help you out by testing API, correlation, and few of the features that are available in JMeter. For now, I will leave this JMeter to its definition and I'll also talk about the demo. So now we'll talk about the Apache JMeter demo. As I said, JMeter is popular open source performance testing tool. So this will help you understand how can we get into JMeter and how is that we are going to check a real-time website. So I hope the definition is clear to you. If not, I can also repeat it now, which is it's an open source tool which will help you analyze and check the health of a website. Let's say, for example, if you like to test google.com or any social or e-commerce website, I think this is the place where you can keep your hands here and you can check the health of any particular website. So talking about the JMeter and its demo, this is how it looked like. So the one that you're trying to see on your screens is a JMeter UI. So to see it is one of the easiest tools to understand, and I don't think that much of the concepts that I am going to teach you now will not be complicated. So whatever the options or whatever the redirections that I use here, I hope that would be clear because the entire UI is kind of a self-explanatory kind of things. So whatever I do, it is very easy to understand, and I hope it is same with you. So to talk about the entire structure of JMeter, how is it developed and what is the backend mechanism where it is going to connect with the HTTP server and how is it going to check the health of a state? All these concepts will be bringing to you in a next video, which I exclusively talk about the JMeter UI, the working principle, and also help you understand how can we check an API testing and how can we check a database which is connected to a real-time website. So all these elements will be brought to you in a next video which exclusively talk about this. So for now, we'll get into a demo video of how JMeter looks like and how is that we are going to test a real-time website now. So this is how it looks like. So the topmost left panel, we have the test plan where it will ask you to check or input the test plan. So for now, I can say that it is a performance testing tutorial. Cool. So now what I can do is the moment I go here and for every test plan, we need to save it in our local machine. So for now, I'm trying to create or save it in the folder where it is getting downloaded. So performance testing tutorial and JMX is the JMeter XML file. So for every JMeter file that you're going to save will be saved in a .xml like JMX. So JMX stands for JMeter XML file. So every use case that you're going to create it now will be in terms of an XML file. So I hope it is clear. So now what I can do is I can quickly write the name of the test plan and hit on save. Cool. So you can see now the test plan is now changed to performance testing tutorial. So I would like to show you one such demo where I can add thread. You can see it here, add thread users, thread group. So the reason that I added thread group is because thread group is generally in place where you'll ask the JMeter to test in terms of users. Let's say that you like to test 100 users in a particular application. So what you do is you get it here, click on add, get into thread users. So that will help you get into this particular page and it will ask you how many number of users that you are going to use in thread 1. So thread is something a kind of a container. So let's say for example you have 500 users and if you'd like to use 500 users in a single thread, you can input that 500 here. But if you need to be divided into that particular path, what you can do is you can just type one of the threads here and you can loop the infinite here. So what I'm trying to say is if you would like to have 500 users, you can just type it here. But I don't want to do this because it will take a lot of time. But what I can do is I'll quickly hit on 5, which is a reasonable number, right? Now what I can do is loop count. So loop count is once it has reached this particular 5, what it does is it will again come back and start again because I have a loop count of 2. That means once first the iteration is completed, then it will come back to the same loop and try to perform the same interaction again in the corresponding listener, right? So what I do is I'll rename this as user check. I hope this name is clear. So what I do is users check and all these options I'll tell you in the next video. For now, what I can do is continue and I'll hit on save. You can see this particular plan is now selected. So the next interaction or the next instruction that we are going to create in this particular UI is listener or I'm sorry, sampler, right? I'll use HTTP request. It is not limited to HTTP request. I think you've seen there are multiple options which are available here. So based on your requirement, you can get into FTP. JDBC is to connect with a database and it will help you understand if the database is working under a similar workload or not. So that is something which is related to database. And there are also another type of request which is available here and you can select as per your requirement. So for now, what I do is I'll quickly check on this HTTP request and it will open me a page where it has all the details regarding an HTTP request, right? At the top, you can see this is an HTTP request and this is a protocol and this is the server name. So what I can do now is I can quickly get back to Amazon website, right? So this is the Amazon website where I would like to take this as a reference now. So what I do is I'll quickly get into any different page within Amazon, right? So what I do now is I'll quickly copy this Amazon. Don't copy HTTPS because the HTTP request is already set in this particular protocol. So what I do is I'll quickly input here Amazon. So the path. path is something which is getting after, which is before this question mark. This is the path, right? For example, I logged into this Amazon and then I clicked on mobile phones, right? Then I'm trying to click on something or the other which is based on my requirement. So what I do now is I'll quickly copy this path, which is from mobile phones till B, get into UI and put it here. This is the path, right? So please don't add anything apart from this because everything is automated. If this is the HTTP GET request, because I'm trying to request something to the HTTP server. So what I do is now this is not the end of the running instruction. So what I do now is there is also still pending instructions that we need to provide it in the JMeter UI. You might have seen this, right? Send parameters with the request. So I'm not stopped like the URL. If you can see, it is not the end of this path, right? It is also something we have apart from is the parameters. So all these are the parameters. So what I need to do is I should also copy these parameters, get into JMeter, add one. The name of the parameter is IE and value is something UTF-8. Please copy as it is and try to add the other one since we have three different parameters available inside this website. So what I do now is I'll quickly create the other one, input the value and add the other one, which is the last one, which is reference. So this is the value. So if you can see, I didn't do anything much extra here. What I did is I went to Amazon and I clicked on mobile phones and it is in the page. But followed by there are few other parameters for which Amazon is trying to let the user search for their own requirements. So for now, everything is done, right? I've get into Amazon and all the parameters are recorded here. So what you do is hit on save so that all these informations will be getting saved and it will help you record the data. So now everything is fine. You have told the JMeter that please run a test in Amazon in that particular page. So what it does now is JMeter will get into that particular HTTP request, connect with that Amazon website, and it will help you analyze what kind of health is the Amazon is trying to showcase to the end advertiser or the customer experience. So, but how is that you're going to see? How is that you would like to see the result, right? You would also like to see how the result is, right? So what I do is, in order to view the reporting, click on Add, get into Listener, and these are all the reporting visuals that you have inside the JMeter. So you have results tree where all the information it will be available in terms of it tree structure. But for now, what I do is I'll click on table. So yeah, view results in table. So the moment you click or the moment you run on play button, or that instruction will be playing in the background and it will help you record all the data in terms of these column headers. So for now, I'll hit on save. And if you can observe here, I clicked on play button. That means it will taking time for me to check the website, and the entire time that it took for this particular instruction is in 6 seconds. And this is the number of requests that I asked JMeter to connect with Amazon website. And if you can see, the status is active. That means approved. So this doesn't have any such errors because it is clearly saying that it is a 200 type of like a 200 response code. So whenever you see a green symbol which is certified, that means JMeter is able to connect with the HTTP request and it is asking you or probably telling you that all these requests which we are trying to ask the JMeter is properly working fine. That means complete Amazon website for which I have given the parameters are working fine and it doesn't have any issues. You can see it here. It doesn't have any issues. And all these are the latency, connecting time, and the bytes that it took in order to retrieve the information from the JMeter. So this is how you can play around in JMeter. Like if you would like to check any particular website, I would request you to follow the same steps that we were trying to see it now. Like for example, you can put it the Amazon here and mobile phones here. and you can click the HTTP request based on your requirement. So this is how it is, guys, and I hope this video will help you, or probably will keep you or take a place where you can right away install a JMeter in your local machines and try experiencing it by yourself. I hope my video is clear, and this is about the JMeter demo. So I really appreciate all of you guys for taking time in order to getting into this particular place where you've known what exactly that we are talking about, and I hope the entire video has help you to go in terms of a performance testing scale, and it will reach you in much places. Thank you so much, and this is the end of the tutorial. I hope it is useful. Please share it with your community. Please share it with your friends, whoever is available. You can share it with them talking about this particular testing tutorial, and it will help them a lot. Thank you guys, and have a safe and a great weekend.